I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And believe it or not, it's been more than 5 years now that two young girls went missing in a small town in Indiana. They were found murdered, and the case still hasn't been solved. And for years, more information has been coming out, little drips and drabs, and it seems like we're so close to solving this case. I'm talking about the case of Abby Williams and Libby German. Two young girls. I mean, it was a brutal case. And it seems like there's a lot of evidence, and it seems like we should have this thing pretty much wrapped up. We've got big news tonight that reveals even more information that makes it even, or makes it seem like we have the information. Why is no one in handcuffs? And I want to work our way through all of that tonight. We have some great guests joining us in just a moment. But first, for those of you who don't know the backstory, Rafael Sanchez, great reporter from our affiliate WRTV in Indianapolis, has more.
The deaths of Abby Williams and Libby German remain unsolved. February 14th, 2022 will mark 5 years since the teens' bodies were found near the old Monon High Bridge in Delphi in Carroll County. Due to the ongoing investigation, state police always said that this was not a cold case, and it produced a new lead. State police investigators now looking for an individual using the name Anthony_Shots on Instagram and Snapchat between 2016 and 2017. The individual used the pictures of a real-life model as his own. The model seen in these photographs is not involved in this matter, but his pictures were used to reach young girls to get nude images or to get their address to meet them.
Detectives are seeking information about the person who created the Anthony Shots profile. Investigators would like any individual who communicated, met, or attempted to meet the Anthony Shots profile to contact law enforcement by utilizing the tip email, abbyandlibbytip@cacoshrf.com. Please provide as much information as you possibly can.
The tip lines have been overwhelmed since this sketch was released back in 2017 of the man who allegedly says down the hill on the bridge. In 2019, state police updated the sketch, creating new interest in getting the public to help. Now a new piece of information is before a legion of people being asked to give this case one more minute.
All right, again, this is still unsolved. Nobody has been arrested for this. No one's been charged. So if you have information, we've got a tip line for you, 844-459-5786. There's also an email address as well, but please make that call. And we're going to talk about why it hasn't been solved and how close investigators may be, but every piece of evidence is going to help them. Now, let me walk through this little part at the end you heard, this Anthony Shots. This was the bizarre twist that was recently revealed. This Anthony Shots profile that was posted, and they're trying to figure it out. Now, the male model has nothing to do with it. The picture is like catfishing, right? You use someone else's picture to attract people because you look nothing like this person. The person who is connected to this Anthony Shots is a guy named Kegan Kline. There he is. Doesn't look anything like that model. Looks nothing like him. You know why he didn't put his own picture up there. Now, this is a 27-year-old man from Peru, Indiana. He's been arrested on 30 counts of child solicitation, child exploitation, and possession of child pornography. In a new transcript of his August 2020 interview with police, some information is revealed. And I have to give you the backstory, a little bit of the backstory of this transcript. Unbelievably, the producers of a podcast, it's called The Murder Sheet, phenomenal podcast. You need to download it. Download it tonight after the show. But they got their hands on this transcript because it was posted momentarily by the Miami County, Indiana clerk of court on March 3rd. Let me read for you something from this interview. Again, this is this guy Kegan Kline, who's arrested for all these awful things, but not arrested for murder, not charged with murder. In the interview, he's asked, I know you remember Liberty German, inaudible, right? And you know you talked to her and you admitted to talking to her, and the answer from him, I don't think I ever did though. I think I talked to one of her friends, like I told them. And then the question from the interrogator, you admitted that you talked to her, inaudible. Another question, for a few hours at a sleepover, and then you blocked her because she was annoying. You remember that? You're right, yeah. Another part of this transcript. I'm telling you that's the fact. You did, okay? Because the Anthony Schatz persona, the fake account, the answer, right, that admitted to making communications with Liberty German on Snapchat, on Instagram. Like I said, it was not just for a couple of hours. So now a connection between a man involved with child pornography and exploitation communicating with one of those little girls. Unbelievable development. Unbelievable development. Let's bring in our guests. I said I have good ones tonight. We always have good ones. We have great ones. In Jacksonville, Alabama, professor of forensics at Jacksonville State University, forensic media analyst, former senior investigator for the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office, Joseph Scott Morgan is with us. In Chicago, Illinois, private investigator Erica Morse. And in Indianapolis, Indiana, the Murder Sheet podcasters. I told you about the podcast. Download it tonight. Anya Kane and Kevin Greenlee are with us. Welcome to everyone. We've got some time to go through this. But Anya and Kevin, you guys decide who's going to talk. I'll just throw some questions at you. I know you're used to working together. Give us, again, the backstory on getting your hands on this transcript and the significance of this transcript.
Well, there's a website in Indiana where courts upload documents and filings. And we've been covering this case pretty closely. So periodically we go to the page for Kegan Kline's case. And I happened to go there on this day during the brief window that those documents were there. I immediately downloaded them. And once I started reading them, I was shocked at what I was reading because there were a number of personal details that I would have expected to have been redacted. So then I went back to the page and I saw that it had already been removed.
Wow. Okay. So give me the big picture, okay? You read through the transcript, the big picture that you're following this case. You are knee deep into every detail that's been dripping out for years now. What is your big picture takeaway from this transcript?
Basically, we're finally learning what exactly the connection is between this mysterious Anthony Schatz account that was apparently preying on young girls and the Delphi case. So it's sort of this horrific connection now that we know that Liberty German was seemingly communicating with whoever was running the Anthony Schatz account right before her murder. So it's this very disturbing twist, but it finally sort of puts together what the connection is there.
Now, we can't forget, this is a case where there have been sketches, there's a video, there's audio, all of this released. But as we sit here tonight, correct me if I'm wrong, Anya and Kevin, that the man that we saw, this Kegan, who's being interviewed about the Anthony Schatz profile and the contact with Liberty, one of the little girls, still he's not been arrested for the murder. He's not been arrested for the murder. He's not been implicated as, yeah, he's the guy in the video, he's the guy in the audio.
That's correct. He has not been arrested for the murder. Right now, he's facing a variety of charges related to child sexual abuse materials, and he's also facing a charge of obstruction of justice because the phone that he would have been using at the time of the murders to communicate with the girls or anyone else, he did not turn over to police when he was supposed to. He kept it from police, and prior to turning it over to police, he deleted all of his social media accounts, which would have contained any communications he had with Liberty German.
Wow. Wow. Okay, I want to read another part from the transcript. And then we're going to bring in Joseph Scott Morgan and Erica Morse. All right, question. She said, did you hear about Liberty? You respond on Anthony Schatz, OMG, what happened? That's talking to someone about the two girls that were missing and wound up dead. Right. I guess you're right, yeah, is the answer. Okay, the same person or the girl that you were talking to says that Anthony Schatz was meeting up with Liberty German. Same conversation of the OMG, what happened? Anthony Schatz says, yeah, we were supposed to meet, but she never showed up. The answer, that's a lie, that's a lie. Before I bring you in, Joseph Scott Morgan, Erica Morse, to react to all of this, Anya, Kevin, can you give me a little more context to what I just read? It's a little confusing. It sounds like they're talking about some other conversation here.
Absolutely. Apparently, the Anthony Schatz account was in communication with one of Libby's friends, who basically, in the wake of the murders, reached out to this Anthony Schatz account and basically said, have you heard what happened to our mutual friend? This is horrible. And the Anthony Schatz account responded with this like very suspicious response, essentially saying, we were supposed to meet up on the day of the murders, but she never showed up. So a very odd exchange.
Joseph Scott Morgan, your reaction to these new revelations, thanks to our friends at the Murder Sheet podcast.
Yeah, you know, we starve for any bit of information that we can get on this case, Finn. And to take you back to Thursday, February 23rd, 2017, we were told at that particular time by the authorities that we had DNA evidence from the scene. And now that an individual that is of interest now has been identified, I'd be kind of interested, and particularly given all of this peripheral information that's coming in, I'd be very interested to know if there has been any forward movement relative to pairing up the unknown with the known at this point in time. Maybe things are starting to fall into place. Maybe, you know, this interwoven tapestry, if you will, of all these little segments that we've been looking at for so long from a great distance. Maybe the focus is coming in a little bit tighter now. I certainly hope so, Ben.
Erica Morse, private investigator in Chicago. I know you have followed this case intently. I'm a former prosecutor. I know that when investigators deliver that case, I want to make sure I dot the I's, I cross the T's, because I have that incredible burden that we see every day on Court TV, beyond any and all reasonable doubt. What are your thoughts tonight, Erica Morse, as to why we are sitting here knowing what we know now that investigators have known for quite some time, and we still don't have an arrest?
I'm not surprised. And I think we're still going to be okay. First of all, I just have to say kudos to this podcasting team, because as a reporter and an investigator in the Hoosier State, I cannot believe this landed on my case. Good for you for catching it. It's amazing, because the minute you said database, I figured out where you got it, and it blows my mind that it ever landed there. Second, 108,000, Vinny, that's a number I'm going to toss out to you. 12 years of my life investigating and trying to prove that one person used a computer to access child pornography and other deviant images. This is a shared device in a household. So the fact that we have Kegan Kline in custody is a miracle in and of itself. It's my understanding that the podcasters got law enforcement permission, or at least checked in with them before releasing this information. That tells me that law enforcement is already ahead of the ball on this, and that they didn't fear that the releasing of these documents would interfere with their current investigation. Investigations like this evolve. And we've seen multiple sketches. We've seen one person of interest from 2017 shift into a later person of interest. I think that everyone in that household is suspect in one form or another. And when they deliver this case to the prosecutor, they want this to be ironclad. This is one of the best, if not the best, task forces I've ever seen for murdered children. And I'm not at all surprised that they are taking their time. They are probably working diligently behind the scenes. And this case is already very solid. They just have to finalize it and put it together so they can present it.
Okay, all guests are staying with us. When we come back, Erica mentioned about that household and devices. We're going to try to get some more information about what devices were communicating before the murder of these two beautiful young girls. We'll be right back.
SmileDirectClub.com.
Downhill. Guys. Downhill. Guys. Downhill.
That is audio, purportedly of the murderer of Libby and Abby, those two girls in Delphi, Indiana. Big news tonight as the Murder Sheet podcast got their hands on a transcript, got the okay to publish it all, and now we have more information. And it seems that investigators are much, much closer to solving this case than we thought just a few weeks ago. I want to read another piece of this transcript, and it all has to do with devices and how many devices are connected to this Anthony Schatz profile, which was interacting with one of the little girls who was murdered. So here's the question. This is Kegan Kline is being interrogated by investigators. He's asked, what we want to know is who had access to the Anthony Schatz account. The answer from Kline, me. On two different devices? Yes. At the same time? Yeah. So if you are the sole owner of that account, the only one that had access to it, I mean, on those days, that just looks like me logging into one of my phones. I was logged in on that phone. I logged out, logged in on my other phone. That's what that looks like. Wait a minute, what's going on here? Let's bring back in our guests. Still with us, Professor of Forensics at Jacksonville State University, Justice Scott Morgan, private investigator Erica Morse, and the Murder Sheet podcasters Anya Kane, Kevin Greenlee. I keep reminding you, download that podcast after the show tonight. All right, Anya and Kevin, give me some context here again. Two devices coming from the same home. Who's in this house? Who potentially has access to all of this other than Kegan Kline?
Absolutely. That's a great question. As we understand it, the only people living in that household as of 2017 were Kegan Anthony Kline and his father, Jerry Anthony Kline. So those two individuals were living in the house together in Peru, Indiana. And one thing investigators keep asking Kegan throughout this whole interview is it possible that anybody else had access to some of your devices and your Anthony Schatz profile?
And again, that's significant because it's from that profile that someone is contacting Libby.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's correct. And in the transcript, they also mentioned that a friend of Liberty German's informed the police that Liberty German was very interested in Anthony Schatz. I believe the word they used was that she was enthralled by Anthony Schatz and that she had expressed an interest in meeting Anthony Schatz.
The pieces are coming together here, but the missing piece is who. Is there anyone else in play here potentially that had access to these devices? Because it's a phone can go anywhere, or a password can go anywhere. Was there anyone else, Kevin or Anya?
Yeah, it's interesting. In the transcript, Kegan Anthony Kline keeps throwing a friend of his under the bus. We redacted that name and referred to him as a friend one in our show because police don't seem to think he was involved. But he basically makes the claim that he would get very drunk or high rather and pass out, and that perhaps this friend/roommate stole his phone. And I think the investigators do a really good job of sort of picking apart that narrative by saying basically like, so you would constantly, pass out in front of this friend and he would steal your phone to download child sexual abuse materials. Like, really, is that a realistic story? But that's Kegan's story, at least.
And the only other person that lived in the house was Kegan's father, Tony Kline, who has quite an interesting criminal history of his own.
Wow. All right. Now, again, we were showing those pictures. That was from the profile. It was a catfish profile. That male model who's in those pictures has nothing to do with what happened to these girls. He was used to lure the victims. Joseph Scott Morgan, I'm scratching my head here. And the reason I'm scratching my head is we've got a video, right? Don't we have a video of the purported killer? We've got the device that is communicating that it wants to meet Libby. We know Libby is enthralled with Anthony's shots. And we've got two people living in the house. We can't put this all together yet?
Well, it would seem that the authorities are taking their time, at least in our view. Remember, we're not on the inside looking at this, and it's very, very complex. I think one other little wrinkle here that's troubling for me, Vin, is the fact that this one fellow that is currently in custody has been charged with these horrendous crimes. And what we do know about perpetrators like this is that they generally network with one another quite a bit. And I'm really wondering if there are others that might be involved and might have knowledge that would be connected or interconnected within this web of sharing images and these sorts of things. And it would have to be, in my estimation at least, someone that would be within easy driving distance to Delphi. Delphi is a very isolated area. And so, you begin to kind of focus in on these individuals that might be interconnected with this individual. And that might be part of this as the police are taking their time kind to weave all of this together.
Okay, we're out of time for tonight, but I hope, Anya, Kevin, you'll come on again because this story is continuing to develop and there's so much more to get to.